You didn't get it? I said it's you. Wrong phone. Hey, Chris. Here's when us starts again.
You got us turned on. You ready to go? Things started. We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand as we are led in prayer by Pastor Francel Parker. Immediately following our prayer will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Swirsky.
Let's bow our heads. Let's pray. Father, I just humble myself before you today and ask and pray, Lord, you be with those that are in the city council. Lord, continue to bless them, continue to show them favor, and continue, Lord, to shine upon them. Lord, I thank and I praise you for the job and for the responsibility that they're taking on as well. And ask and pray, Lord, that you continue to allow your angels to come and protect them and shield them from harm or danger that might come their way as well. But Lord, more importantly, I thank and praise you, Lord, for me being here, growing up, living here in Akron. But Lord, to be able to have these individuals, Lord, to make sure that this city is being run and being run the right way. I ask and pray, Lord, to continue to do a job and do a job well done. And to continue to put you first, Father God, and allow you to get the praise and the glory and everything that's being done as well. Have your way in their lives. In your precious and mighty name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from the May 13th, 2019 meeting. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. All members were present. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. On a 12-0 vote, Neal abstained. Reading of petitions and communications, passage of consent agenda, report of standing and special committees, passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions, representation from various departments and divisions, public speaking period, no further business. On a motion by Fusco, council adjourned at 8:09 p.m. to reconvene in regular session on May 20th for a special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? One abstention, and the ayes have it.
Who abstained?
Neal. Letters, petitions, and communications.
Petition of Great Lakes Honda for conditional use to construct a parking area at 43 Pruitt Boulevard.
File.
Petition of Marion Anderson for conditional use to establish a child daycare center business at 1335 West Waterloo Road.
File.
Petition of Demetra McCall for a conditional use to establish a child daycare business center at 480 Lovers Lane.
File.
Petition of Erica Roberts for a conditional use to establish a daycare center business at 474 Ardella Avenue.
File.
Petition of Kanabi Patel for a conditional use to establish a U-Haul facility at 199 Maslin Road.
File.
Petition of Ganley Maserati for a conditional use to construct a monument sign to a height of 20 feet at 1481 East Market Street.
File.
Notice of a new D2 liquor permit to Uptown Lounge Akron LLC at 117 East Market Street.
Special attention, Councilman Samples.
Income tax receipts through the end of April 2019.
File.
Correspondence from Steve No regarding retiree benefits.
File. Before you, you have the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Busco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amovian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
On tonight, we do have one public hearing, and just going to ask if there's anyone here in the audience to speak in reference to the ordinance at 435 North Firestone Boulevard. If you'll please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our law department.
If you would, please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do. I do. Thank you.
Okay. This is offered by Fusco, Kamer, and Sims. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, May 20th, 2019, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in Akron City Council Chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct the Kenmore Garfield Community Learning Center at 435 North Firestone Boulevard.
Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Akron Public Schools proposes to construct the Kenmore Garfield Community Learning Center at this location. The current building and outdoor track would be raised, and a new CLC is to be generally constructed over the footprint of the existing building. Per the facility's master plan, the new CLC is to be designed to be occupied by 1,417 students in grades 9 through 12, including 374 career technical students. The final product will be a new 3-story, 261,000 square foot facility to meet the needs of the Firestone Park, Kenmore districts, and neighborhoods. Exterior components would include face brick of various sizes and in 2 colors of red blend and deep tan and orange, cast stone, clear aluminum framed glazing, and metallic finished metal panels. The primary entrance to the facility and administrative offices would be from the north along East Archwood Avenue, with the drive meandering through the site and exiting at Brown Street. The main entry drive off East Archwood Avenue will provide access to 260 parking spaces located along East Archwood Avenue and Brown Street. The area west of the main entry drive will be utilized for outdoor athletic space. It's actually a football practice field. This area would be approximately the size of half of a football field. The entire 10.5-acre site will receive substantial landscaping, including 2 bioretention areas. An internally illuminated monument sign will be placed at Brown Street. It's anticipated the project will achieve LEED Silver, a designation by the U.S. Green Building Council, recognizing the use of sustainable and low VOC materials. Plans for the Kenmore Garfield Community Learning Center were presented to and approved by the Urban Design and Historic Preservation Commission on April 2nd, and both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in favor? We're just going to ask if you could please give us your name and your address.
Deborah Folk, 10 North Main Street, Akron, Ohio, 44319. Oh, I'm sorry, 44308. I apologize. We just moved.
Got to get used to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm John Peterson, 520 South Main Street.
Okay. And I don't know, did either of you have anything in addition to add?
Well, we were here at the Planning Committee meeting this afternoon and presented what we believe a very nice design will be very fitting to the Firestone Park community, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone else here in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone here that would like to speak against? Anyone here that would like to speak against? Seeing and hearing none, we will close our public hearing. And Councilman Fusco?
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Mobian, Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. Do you want to make comments, Mr. Kamer? No. This is a 3-story facility located on 10 acres. The 261,000 square feet, 260 parking spots, includes a football practice field, about 70, 80 yards, something like that. It includes 2 gyms, one for practice, one primarily for games. 700 folks in the one auditorium, I believe 200 in the other. And so the Planning Commission recommended approval. The Ward Council representative is in favor of this, and we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
The request of the committee is file 2.
Item number 2 will be filed.
The request of the committee is to file 3. That's been withdrawn by the petitioner.
Item 3 will be filed.
Time on the balance.
Time will be granted. We'll now move into rules. Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like time. Thank you.
Time will be granted. Public service. Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like time on number 1.
Time will be granted on item number 1.
And also, I apologize, time on 2, 3, and 4.
Time on 2, 3, and 4.
And 5 through 15 have been filed.
All right. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal.
Madam Chair, the committee's request is continued time.
Time will be granted. All right. We'll now move into our new legislation.
Okay, item number 1, offered by Mr. Freeman. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract after public advertising for bids for the purchase of sewer and water line insurance and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman,
Committee's report's favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Simply put, this is insurance on any sewer or water lines that may fail and cause damage to another property. Lines belong to the city of Akron, and I believe we do this every 5 years. We renew this. With that, we're asking for its passage.
The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 2, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance or his designee to pay $50,000 to support the planning and implementation of the 2019 Akron International Soapbox Derby and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman?
I'm going to have to defer, Mr. Clerk. Did we put this on consent, or did we ask for suspension?
You suspended the rule.
Okay. Committee's request is for suspension of the rules and a favorable report.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This is the city's contribution to the annual Soapbox Derby. We heard a wonderful presentation today. I think it is noteworthy that many folks think of the Soapbox Derby as 1 week during the summer, and they actually display to us that they have 78 event days that take place throughout the year, and so we would happily recommend this item for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 3, offered by Mayor Horrigan. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Planning and Urban Development or his designee to apply for and, if awarded, accept and expend funding from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works Program for the construction of a water splash pad at Patterson Park, authorizing an additional expenditure of funds and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
For the committee is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is an application for grant to the Nature Works State of Ohio Department of Natural Resources funding. This is basically an outcome of the 2018 Community Needs Survey that was conducted by our Akron Recreation Bureau in terms of the desire to have aquatic type of facilities here. And so this application is due June 1st, hence the need to pass this. The application grant awards will be announced in the fall of this year. We're applying for a NatureWorks grant of $90,000, which is a 60% match. Total project would be $150,000, and it would be approximately 1,800 square feet. So recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 4, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the execution of a development agreement with Bridgestone America's Tire Operations, LLC, providing for the acquisition, sale, and redevelopment of property in the Firestone Park Urban Redevelopment Area, finding such property is not needed for any public use, and related findings, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Request the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is a first step in a process, the development agreement. The agreement is with, as noted by the clerk, Bridgestone Tire Manufacturing. This is going to secure 80 jobs, 80 race tire manufacturing jobs here, retain 80 jobs here in the city of Akron. Bridgestone has 765 full-time employees here in the city of Akron. The estimated income, the estimated payroll is $71 million. This is going to accommodate an expansion of an existing building, the refurbishing of a building. $7 million is going to go into the building itself, and $10 million into equipment and machinery. And so based on all this and the fact that we're going to be retaining these 80 jobs and building tires in Akron, which is important, obviously, we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 5, offered by Keith. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini in the 2018 Phase 1 and Phase 2 residential resurfacing program by resurfacing such streets with asphalted concrete 402 and 404 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 6, offered by Keith. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain street between certain termini in the 2018 Phase 1, 2, and 3 unimproved street resurfacing program by treating the surface thereof with substances designed to preserve the surface and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would also like this item to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 7, offered by Keith, ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini of the 2018 Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 of the arterial collector program by resurfacing such streets with asphaltic concrete 402 and 404 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. As noted in the other two that were placed on the consent agenda, this one committee is also asking for it to be placed on the consent agenda. These were 2018 resurfacing projects. We, as procedure would have it in policy, we bill a year later. So that is why, once again, we will request this to be placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you. This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 8, offered by Keith, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Cascade Valley LLC for the construction of roadway, storm, sanitary sewers, and water mines as part of the Hickory Street Phase 3 development and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
On number 8, we would like this, the committee would like this to be also be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay. Item number 9, offered by Keith and Fusco. Ordinances determined to proceed with the improvement of Talmadge Avenue between the North Main Street and Gorge Boulevard by paving, grading, constructing, reconstructing curbs, concrete sidewalks, driveway approaches, installation of roof drain pipes, and planting trees, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we are asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you so much. During committee meeting today, Madam President, some questions were brought up about the demolition, and those were answered by Mr. Lettle, the Deputy Director of Public Service, in an email both to you and to Councilwoman that had the questions. So having said that, we would like it to move forward then.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Lobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item 9A, offered by Mayor Horrigan, Councilman Fusco, and Somerville. It's a resolution opposing the passage of the Ohio General Assembly House Bill 163, which unfairly and unreasonably denies municipalities the right to control their own utility rates, interferes with mutually beneficial arm's-length negotiations between peer and communities, and penalizes cities like Akron by depriving them of the local government funds and other important funding assistance and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this item to be placed on the consent agenda, and I would also like to thank all of the committee members that have followed this House bill and to continue to follow it so that we have the best understanding of how it will affect the city of Akron.
Thank you. This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Councilwoman Mobian?
Madam Chair, I would like for us to have this offered by the mayor and council as a whole.
So we'll add mayor and council as a whole.
Okay. Item number 10, offered by Samples. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertised for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for the purchase and installation of a new water pump and motor at the Akron Water Reclamation Facility and declaring an emergency.
Okay. Councilman Samples? Then we'll go back.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this item placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Okay. And before we proceed on that one piece, Councilman Mobian made a motion to add mayor and council as a whole. Second. We got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Mobian?
I apologize, I forgot to add that we should add those comments made by Councilwoman Samples this afternoon about following up with the Utilities Committee in Columbus, because that's where the particular law piece is in Columbus, in that committee. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, item number 11, offered by Samples. Ordinance, authorize Director of Public Service or his designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts to construct an enhanced raw meter pre-treatment facility and declare an emergency.
Councilwoman Samples?
Thank you, Madam President. This also we would like to have on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay. Item number 12, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for and, if awarded, accept and expend project neighborhood, safe neighborhoods funding from the Northeastern Ohio Violent Crime Consortium to support the Akron Strategic Hotspot Initiative and declare an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules tonight.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. If awarded, this funding would provide for an 18-month project that would cover overtime enforcement for our law enforcement officers in a few of our hot spots here in the city.
Okay. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sim, Somerville.
Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had healthy discussion this afternoon, and as our safety chair just mentioned, if we receive funding, as was mentioned by several council persons this afternoon, if this is our plan, it should not be based on just if we get this funding. I think it's, there's several funding sources that we could look at. I think in lieu of the governor increasing the gas tax to bring in more money for infrastructure, that means that potentially our issue $4 that are slated for infrastructure as well as safety could be looked at as a way of funding this proposal. Even if we do receive funding, as was mentioned by Councilwoman Sims and some others, I believe Councilman Sworsky, this isn't enough to address the problem. So it created an opportunity for us to, as council, along with the administration, look at other ways to fund it. One being seeing what our dollars are coming in from the infrastructure gas tax. How much is that going to be to where we could potentially look at taking some money and allocating it to address this urgent need, as well as something that we've talked about, we haven't had a chance to go back and address, and those are the search and seizure funds that are sitting over at the police department and being invested using the investment dollars from that to address the issue. So just wanted that we make note and we can put that on schedule for us to have a discussion on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Neal.
Okay. Okay, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for and, if awarded, accept grant funding through the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance to support the Akron Sexual Assault Kit Initiative and declare an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of rules on this one.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
All right, thanks. This is for funding for a 3-year program, hopefully to pay for some new investigators and enhanced victim services.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Councilwoman Amobian? Okay.
I got it.
All right. We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to council during this time, we're going to ask that you please approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, give us your full name, and give us your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting, so remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and will be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Oh, boy. Hi, my name is David Head, address 71 Roseland Court, Akron, Ohio 44304. Rather than a comment, I have a question. I've looked at the web page, akronohio.gov, and I've seen a map of Akron which shows all of the different ward locations, but it's not marked. It's kind of like looking at a map of the United States with all of the states on it, but the lines aren't there to show you exactly the outline of those states. And I was wondering how I could find, or where I could find, a map that would show somebody what ward they were in.
Okay, very good. Yes, Mr. Head, after the meeting, I'm sure there'll be members of this body that will come right over to you and give you that information, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sylvia Gage, 1028 Murray Avenue, Akron, Ohio. I guess this is a comment and kind of a pet peeve of mine, but I know trash is a big issue in my neighborhood, especially on my street, and I would like everybody to get together to try to correct that problem. I mean, I've been going to my neighbors to say, you can't leave your trash out so till the next week, and I just need some more help on that. Winter is not so bad, the snow covered up, but in the summertime, it's just a filthy mess, and it looks so bad. I think it's a real problem, and I think it's something that could be done more than just by the neighborhood residents. I know you get a little thing in the paper with your city bill that this is when trash goes out, but it seems to me like it's ignored, and you try to be a friendly neighbor, and it still doesn't happen.
Thank you, Mrs. Gage, for sharing.
My name is Melissa Jindra. I live at 1341 Brown Street. I received a letter the last time around about there was going to be a proposal for something across the street from the school where Garfield is, but I didn't open the letter in time because I thought it was junk mail. And I got a letter this evening, or I meant earlier in the month, that there was a meeting today that I thought was going to be on that, and I don't know if it went over before I walked in, but I'm under the impression that there is a proposal for something to be built on the other side of Brown Street where my house is, but nobody has ever called or contacted me about it. So I just am wondering what's going on, or at like what point somebody was gonna like mention we want to build a building on your house. I mean,
Okay, well, thank you. After the meeting, if you'll be so kind to meet with your council person, Councilman Kamer, after the meeting, okay?
That'd be great, thank you.
Good evening. A couple weeks ago, I was here and I showed you all the map of the different, as I was sharing with the gentleman back there, of the different wards, but he's saying that they're slightly different.
I'm going to send an electronic copy to all of you. I want to back up and introduce myself to those of you that may not remember who I am. It's Carol Coleman Crane with Team Towing and Service at 645 Carroll Street in Ward 5. And as I've said before, we have, we just ordered another flatbed, so we'll have a total of, I think that's going to total 7 flatbeds and 5 wheel lifts and 6 service vehicles. I live in Akron as well, been here most of my life. I have about between 20 and 25 employees at Team Towing and Service that also live in Akron, and their families live in Akron. Their children go to Akron Public Schools, and I feel very responsible to my employees because they have families, and their families depend on my business to take care of their families, to feed their children, to clothe them. And as I said before, we tow for AAA and for the post office and the Ohio Highway Patrol, State Highway Patrol as well. And I'm here because I'm asking for, I'd like to be included in the towing for the Akron Police Department. And I'm asking because I want to diversify my business. I want to continue to expand the contracts that we have. And I feel like my employees, all residents of Akron that depend on me, are entitled to this as well. According to the Ohio Revised Code, we meet all the requirements that are set forth in that requirements for the towing districts. As the map supports, there are there's 7 districts here, but there are 5 towing companies that share those districts. There's 2 other towing companies that meet the requirements that you all have put forth in that revised code, and myself as well as Kinney's have been asking for several years to be included in this and for that to be properly diversified through the city of Akron. I'm going to send, as I said, an electronic copy to each one of you along with the mayor, and I'm asking for a restructure of the districts to include the 2 businesses or a rotation like the Ohio Highway Patrol does, State Highway Patrol does, putting everyone on a rotation. And I'm asking that you vote for me, and that if you don't, please contact me. Please respond to me in my email, ask me some questions, and tell me why you don't feel that you can support this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Crane. Is there anyone else here in the audience that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening, Jackie Easley. I'm with the Copley Road Merchants Association, the Vice President, and I wanted to remind and invite all to come for Better Block on Friday and Saturday, the 24th, the 25th, Friday from 6 to 10, Saturday from 11 to 4. It's all kind of good groups coming, some really good groups, and food trucks and ice cream, and so come out and relax for the weekend and come out and have a good time. It's a tag football game on Saturday at 1 o'clock. The state of Ohio took interest in this, and they'll be here on Saturday morning at 11, so come on out and have a good time. And if anybody has any spare free time, they need volunteers to come out and help kind of, build things up and do whatever. So on the 22nd and 23rd. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Easley, for sharing.
Hope to see you all there.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak during our public comment period? Seeing and hearing none, we will close our public comment period and move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman Keith.
2:30.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman Keith.
2 o'clock.
Public Utilities, Councilman Samples. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilman Amobian. Economic Development, Councilwoman Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky. Is there anything else coming before council? Councilman Samples?
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, I know we have the Better Block this weekend. We have a lot going on this upcoming weekend, which is the holiday weekend. We also have the Middlebury Multicultural Festival. Did I get that right? I think I got it right. On Upson Street, so the whole street will be blocked off this Saturday from noon to 3. There's going to be different cultural vendors at the event that will take place the whole entire afternoon, and there will be activities that are family-friendly for the kids, and we're asking people to come out and support that community as they build up over there. And also, this past week, SUMA had their grand opening for the tower, and we are scheduling another visit for elected officials to tour the tower before it opens to the public. And I encourage you all to go and visit this facility. I need to mention it is in Ward 5. But anyways, it is beautiful, and if you know someone who's having a baby, this is definitely the place they want to have a baby at. So again, if you just have some free time and you go over there, someone will tour you through the building, but we are putting together a date for elected officials to tour the building, and it is definitely a sight to see, and they have definitely put in the work, and it took them exactly 2 years to the date to open that tower. So I am excited that we have someone who has stayed in our community, built in our community, is now about to bring 126 more jobs into our community. So I encourage us all to go out and support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank Ms. Easley for allowing us to have a city storefront. Integrated Development and Akron Police Department will have a pop-up storefront at the Copley Road Better Block, and it's all thanks to the generosity of Ms. Easley, so thank you very much.
Very good.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.